When I grow up, I would like to be an engineer.
I want to be a real estate agent.
I want to be an orthodontist.
I want to be an attorney.
I want to be in the military.
I want to be an FBI agent.
When I grow up, I want to be an astronaut.
I want to be a history teacher.
I want to be a missionary.
When I grow up, I want to be a wealthy woman.
A volleyball player.
When I grow up, I want to be the new owner of Extreme Teriyaki Grill Express.
I want to be a dentist.
An astronomer.
I want to be an engineer.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
I want to graduate high school.
Education is the foundation of everything. If a child gets a good education, then they are set up for success in life, and if they don't, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be a failure, but the odds are stacked against them. So imagine the desperation of a parent who's watching their child in an environment that absolutely is failing them, where they know that if that child doesn't get the education that they need, not only does that parent know that that sets that child up for a real difficult future, we all understand that. It's why we value education, it's why we fund it, it's why everyone talks about it.
He switched schools 3 times his 4-year-old preschool year. She kept saying he's too smart for this, that's why he's acting out, he needs to be pushed. Then we went to a private school. It was just a bad environment, saying this isn't a good fit for Jack. I think we were there about 2 months. We went into a collaborative setting. We were about a week in. She goes, I just don't know if this is gonna work. So I was like, that was a really rough year. There wasn't a class that was working for him. That was hard, because I didn't feel like anybody really cared about my little guy. And, I'm not gonna just send him off because I wanna send him off. I wanna make sure I'm sending him off to somebody that cares about him and wants what's best for him. And I just didn't feel like we had that, and it was really just, let's just make it through this year.
I don't think you could overstate how important it is for Jack to lay the foundations now in his education, in his upbringing, in his ability to think. And his ability to kind of piece together what he perceives in this world. Now's the time, because you don't get these years back. He can either get it now or pay for it later, and that's why we're just trying to do everything that we can to make sure that he has the best opportunities. I mean, later in life, he's going to make his own decisions, but while his mommy and daddy are taking care of him, I mean, we want to make sure that he has the absolute best opportunities. We want to make sure that he's a contributor and not a taker.
We had him evaluated through Gwinnett County at the age of 3.5, I believe, and they put him directly into special education. So, I mean, we knew right off the bat that this was going to be a struggle. That's hard. That's hard to swallow, that your child has an issue and that you're not going to go to typical preschool and they're not going to go to typical kindergarten.
Choosing my son's education, choosing the school that he goes to, choosing who is pouring into my son's life is incredibly important, because at the end of the day, that's what I'm responsible for. I'm not saying that I own every single decision that he makes going on down the line, but I want to take responsibility for my son's upbringing. I want to be a part of that, and I want to give him the best tools that are possible. It was a little frustrating at first. It was a little difficult trying to figure out, okay, well, is this school working? Because we don't feel like it is. And if it's not, what are our options? What can we even do about it? We tried some other private schools before, and it didn't really work out because they were going to either be too expensive, and so we're kind of put back into that loop, or we just weren't sure it was the right fit.
After asking around, we got a recommendation for a school called Dominion, and we just right off the bat fell in love with them. We have applied to the school. We went for a family interview. We had Jack sit in with their first grade class for a while just to make sure that this was the right spot for him. And we had him take a test to just find out where he was with math and reading and writing. And we are just waiting to find out if he's in for second grade or not.
If it's a yes, it means, oh great, the research actually worked, all the time that we poured into it actually worked, and that's a great thing.
We will not give up trying to find the right school for Jack, and knowing that we can find a private school now and that we will get help financially is just awesome, and we will definitely find him the right school.
While Georgia has some school choice programs, including public school choice through charter schools, and private choice through the tuition tax credit program and special needs scholarship program, there is not nearly enough choice available for the state's 1.7 million public school students. When combined, fewer than 70,000 students either attend a startup charter or receive a tax credit or special needs scholarship. That's less than 5% of the student population that has access to choice. And the demand for school choice is tremendous, but the opportunities are few. In the 2014-2015 school year, more than 12,000 students were on charter school waiting lists across the state, an increase of more than 35% from the previous year. In 2015, the Tuition Tax Credit Scholarship Program reached its donation cap of $58 million on January 1st, the very first day of the year and the very first day donations could be made. In 2014, the cap was reached in only 23 days. The organizations that give scholarships under the program report large waiting lists that often exceed the actual number of children who are currently able to participate. With Georgia ranking 48th in educational achievement nationally and having a state average graduation rate of 71%, the demand for school choice is not only high, but the need is tremendous.
I was hearing from so many families that their children were in classrooms where the teachers believed they couldn't learn, where they were stuck in front of television screens just watching videos, where they were basically destined to get out of K through 12 without an education, which impacts the rest of their lives. And I knew that there were opportunities, specialized schools, specialized programs that could help these students, and I wanted to find a way to bridge the gap between what the students needed and what was available to them, as opposed to just where they were districted for school. We passed the Georgia Special Needs Scholarship Program in 2007, and it was a bill that was modeled after the McKay Scholarship Program in Florida that was already established and very successful.
After that program was passed into law, we had to go back and actually change the law a little bit to require the school systems to tell the kids with special needs that they had this opportunity at regular times, because what was happening is they just weren't telling them. I just know that it meant fewer kids having the opportunity to go to these schools.
There are some fantastic private schools and private programs that specialize, perhaps for children that have autism. There are schools for the deaf, schools for the blind. These are specific options that often parents don't have access to because of a lack of resources, but it would be a godsend to them to be able to have their child in an environment that is specifically tailored to that child's needs. And that's ultimately what the Special Needs Scholarship is seeking to do, is provide the parents just a little bit of a leg up, giving them just a little bit of help with the resources they need to access those opportunities.
At the very least, there ought to be an option. There should be school choice for a population of students that are facing such struggles. And we designed it specifically so that it would allow the child and their parents to choose either another public school or a private school, because our view is that choices should be wide open for kids and their families and not limited, even within choice programs. We shouldn't trade one system for another. It should be about what works for the child, very specifically.
The way we fund education in the state of Georgia really comes from three sources. There's federal money, there's state money, there's local money. In a program like the Special Needs Scholarship Program, the state money follows the child to the school of their choice. But the federal money and the local property tax money stay in the traditional district school. So in reality, if a student leaves on scholarship, the district is actually left with the federal and local money, but also the public school system no longer has the responsibility to educate that child, and all of the local property tax money stays in that system. So in reality, you actually have more money per pupil to do the same job. While the Special Needs Scholarship Program has been fantastic for those families that qualify, there are many families who still don't have options and their children still do have specialized needs. For instance, there may be a student who's a fantastic musician who needs to be in a performing arts school, but maybe the school they're zoned for doesn't have a program like that, but the school down the street does. Why don't we open up the doors and allow more flexibility so that student can pursue their passion and their gifts and their talents? Perhaps a student is really gifted in math and science and needs to be in a magnet school that focuses more on science and technology, and yet a family is prohibited from going to that school because of an arbitrary district boundary.
The advantage to having a school that specializes in things means that we can all have the best of all worlds. Because if I specialize in processing and behaviors, and the next school specializes in, say, helping children with Down syndrome to read or understanding autism and how it works, then we can all feed out to each other and all of our children get everything they need and nobody misses the boat. Nobody.
It's stressful enough, I'm sure, caring for a child, especially when they have extreme needs. And what we need to do is make it easier for families to meet one of the basic needs, which is just educating the child to the best of that child's ability.
It really gives them the opportunity to spread their wings as far as they can, right? And to be as productive in life as is possible. Who knows, for some it may mean the difference between being wholly dependent upon family to take care of them for the rest of their lives and actually being independent. There's a value to realizing your potential, and we don't think that should be limited by learning disability by any stretch of the imagination. We want all people to flourish and to achieve their maximum potential. And school choice in this area has proven to be a great answer to that.
Jazz now attends the Special Needs Schools of Gwinnett, which is one of the SB 10 approved schools. So because of the SB 10, we have been able to choose the right choice for Jazz. This is a great fit for him. We're very, very happy. We've seen huge, remarkable leaps and bounds since he has been here. So I'm very, very excited about that.
Educated students, we all know, make more productive members of society. They are more likely to thrive. They're more likely to stay out of jail, to need public assistance. It's not only better for that child and that family, it's better for everyone.
There are some limits to the special needs program. By design, it was created to help kids with individualized educational plans. That's what IEP stands for. That means that they have a diagnosed learning disability that can be helped if they're in the right environment, getting the right curriculum, that type of thing. That means essentially there's a whole group of kids that are not being served that really should be.
Perhaps the students in a school and they're being picked on, bullied relentlessly. There's no opportunity for them to move to a different environment under this program. Students who have severe physical disabilities that don't necessarily impact their ability to learn also are not included in the eligibility pool. So there are still limitations in terms of who can participate in the program, and it would be fantastic to expand that to give more children the choice to find a better opportunity.
I think the thing that's great, I have a daughter who struggles somewhat with language deficit disorders, and the school has been, I think having school choice and having people who are experts, they're really helpful. Even though she struggles with language, she's in a school that teaches multiple languages, and because I've been able to partner with the school more, she's actually excelling in English. She's above grade level. So I say with school choice, if you have schools they can't even adequately prepare kids who are not behind, it's going to be really difficult for you to have access to people who are experts who could really help your kids succeed in school. So for me, having a kid that really does have specific needs and being able to interact with those teachers, with the principal, it's been very helpful. And I feel like that she has not suffered because I've put her in an environment that is already focused on success.
This program was passed in 2007, and currently there are just over 3,000 families in the program. What that tells us, and what we hear all the time from families, is unfortunately far too many people still don't know this opportunity is available to them.
In terms of what parents need to know, first, know that if your child has an IEP and a learning disability, that there's something that you can do to get them into a better environment, and it's the scholarship program.
We've heard stories from parents and students who used to hate going to school, They had crying fits. I mean, it was a disaster. And now they love it, and they feel loved by their teachers, loved by their fellow students. They're thriving. Maybe they've learned to read where they couldn't before. I mean, their whole lives are different. Their lives are changed because they're in an environment where they're thriving as opposed to one where they're struggling.
When I grow up, I want to be an owner of a business.
SB 10 ought to pass this body 56-0, and I hope that you will stand for those families and allow just a new option. If not enough money, it may not have transportation, but it is something new and something different and some sort of hope for these families that all they want to do is raise that child up as high as they can go with the most opportunity they can.